This is Forgotten Fronts, a channel where we uncover history's hidden tragedies, mysteries, and forgotten truths. The story of the Titanic is not just a tale of a shipwreck. It is a story of human ambition, engineering brilliance, overlooked warnings, design flaws, and mysteries that still puzzle us today. April 15th, 1912. The RMS Titanic, the largest, most luxurious ship in the world, vanished beneath the freezing Atlantic waters. More than 1,500 lives were lost. Survivors spoke of chaos, bravery, and despair. For decades, we've told the story as a simple one. An iceberg sank the Titanic. But the truth is far more complicated. New research, forensic evidence, and modern 3D scans revealed chilling details about how she really sank, and why her legacy still fascinates us over a century later. Titanic was born in Belfast at the Harland and Wolff shipyards. Ordered by the White Star Line, she was part of a trio of ships designed to dominate the transatlantic passenger trade: the Olympic, the Britannic, and the Titanic. Construction began in 1909. More than 15,000 workers labored for nearly 3 years. The ship measured 882 feet in length, 92 feet wide, and weighed over 46,000 gross tons. She had 9 decks, 3 million rivets, and could carry over 3,300 people. Though on her maiden voyage, she carried just over 2,200. Her watertight bulkheads and remotely operated doors created a sense of invincibility. In fact, a magazine claimed she was unsinkable. White Star never officially used that word, but the myth stuck. Inside, Titanic was a floating palace. The grand staircase, with its ornate clock and ironwork, was a symbol of elegance. First-class passengers enjoyed Parisian cafes, Turkish baths, and luxury cabins. Second class had comforts that rivaled first class on other ships. Third class, or steerage, though more modest, still offered bunks, meals, and amenities unheard of for most immigrants crossing the Atlantic. Titanic wasn't just a ship. She was a statement of human progress. On April 10th, 1912, Titanic left Southampton, England, bound for New York. She stopped at Cherbourg, France, and Queenstown, Ireland, to collect more passengers. On board were some of the wealthiest people of the age: John Jacob Astor IV, Benjamin Guggenheim, Isidor and Ida Strauss, alongside thousands of emigrants hoping to start new lives in America. The crew numbered nearly 900, including Captain Edward J. Smith, making what was to be his final voyage before retirement. The weather was calm. Spirits were high. Titanic sailed west across the Atlantic, her 4 towering funnels trailing smoke and steam, her passengers unaware of what lay ahead. April 14th, the 4th day at sea. Throughout the day, Titanic received repeated warnings of ice. The Marconi wireless room received at least 6 separate messages. Reports from the ships America, Mesaba, and the Californian, all warning of heavy ice flows and drifting bergs. But Titanic pressed on at nearly 22 knots. Some historians argue Captain Smith wanted to maintain schedule and prove Titanic's speed. Others believe he followed the era's tradition, steaming fast through iceberg regions, trusting lookouts to spot danger in time. Whatever the reason, Titanic sailed into the night with her passengers dining, dancing, and sleeping, unaware that danger drifted just ahead. At 11:40 p.m., lookouts Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee spotted a dark shadow, an iceberg, dead ahead. They had no binoculars. The key to the locker had been mistakenly taken ashore by another officer. Fleet rang the warning bell 3 times and called down, "Iceberg, right ahead." First Officer William Murdoch ordered, "Harder starboard," and full astern. Titanic began to turn, but slowly. Her massive size made her sluggish. The iceberg brushed her starboard side. To those on board, it felt like a long, shuddering scrape. Ice rained onto the decks. Few realized the disaster already unfolding below the waterline. For years, people imagined the iceberg gouged a giant tear in Titanic's hull. Survivors themselves believed this. But the wreck, discovered in 1985, told a different story, and modern 3D scans confirm it. The iceberg didn't slice her open. Instead, it pressed the steel plates inward, causing rivets to pop and seams to split. 6 separate openings, some no bigger than a man's hand, stretched across 39 feet of hull. The location was fatal. Water rushed into 5 of Titanic's forward compartments. She had been designed to float with 4 flooded, but not 5. The bow began to sink almost instantly. Why did a glancing blow sink such a mighty ship so quickly? Investigations revealed critical flaws: steel brittleness. Steel samples recovered from Titanic showed high levels of sulfur and phosphorus. In freezing water, the metal became brittle, cracking instead of bending. Weak rivets. Many rivets were wrought iron, not steel. Some contained slag impurities that weakened them. Under stress, they snapped, allowing seams to burst open. Bulkhead design. Titanic's watertight compartments did not extend fully upward. Once the bow dipped, water spilled over like ice trays, flooding one compartment after another. What seemed like a marvel of engineering was, in reality, a disaster waiting to happen. One of Titanic's most debated mysteries is the coal fire. Before leaving Southampton, stokers discovered a fire burning deep in one of the coal bunkers. Coal fires were not unusual on steamships, but this one may have been burning for days. Some crew even tried to shovel the burning coal directly into Titanic's boilers to reduce the fire. A photograph taken before sailing appears to show a dark mark on the hull in the same area where the iceberg struck. Some experts argue the fire weakened the bulkhead, making Titanic more vulnerable. Others dismiss this as speculation. The truth remains uncertain. But if true, Titanic was already compromised before she ever touched the iceberg. The collision was only the beginning. Human decisions made the disaster worse. Too few lifeboats. Titanic carried only 20 lifeboats, enough for about half the people on board. The ship was designed to carry more, but White Star reduced the number for aesthetic reasons, to keep the decks clear for first-class promenades. Poor evacuation. Officers had little training in lifeboat drills. Afraid the davits couldn't support fully loaded boats, many were launched half-empty. The first lifeboat carried only 28 people, though it could hold 65. Communication failures. The SS Californian, just miles away, saw rockets in the sky, but did not respond quickly. Captain Stanley Lord failed to act decisively. Meanwhile, Titanic's distress calls were picked up by the Carpathia, which steamed through the night to help, but arrived too late for most. Captain Smith's choices. Why did he maintain near full speed despite 6 iceberg warnings? Was it confidence, company pressure, or habit? We may never know. As Titanic's bow filled with water, the stern lifted higher. Passengers clung to the decks as lifeboats rowed away. At 2:18 a.m., the ship broke apart. Survivors gave conflicting testimony. Some said she sank whole, others swore she split in 2. For decades, the question lingered. When Robert Ballard discovered the wreck in 1985, the truth was revealed. Titanic had indeed torn in half. Recent scans show how violent the breakup was. Steel ripped apart, decks twisted, machinery spilled out. The stern twisted onto its side before plunging into the abyss. At 2:20 a.m., the last piece of Titanic slipped beneath the waves. Over 1,500 people were left in the freezing sea. Only 705 survived. Titanic rests nearly 12,500 feet below the surface. For decades, she lay silent, untouched. But now, nature is erasing her. Bacteria feed on her iron, creating fragile rusticles. Entire sections have collapsed. Experts warn that within decades, Titanic may vanish completely, leaving only debris on the seafloor. New 3D scans have created a digital twin of the wreck, preserving every detail virtually before it's lost forever. But every dive shows more decay. Titanic is disappearing before our eyes. Beyond steel and science, Titanic is remembered for its people. Courage. Chief Engineer Joseph Bell and his men stayed in the engine rooms, keeping pumps and lights running until the very end. The ship stayed lit for nearly 3 hours, giving hundreds the chance to escape. Sacrifice. Isidore and Ida Strauss, owners of Macy's, refused to be separated. Ida gave up her lifeboat seat, saying, "Where you go, I go." Both died together on the ship. Music in the dark. The 8 musicians played on deck until the final plunge. Survivors recalled the hymn, "Nearer, My God, to Thee." Lost children. Families were separated. Some children were rescued alone, too young to even say their names. For weeks, they were known only as Titanic orphans. Class divide. While first-class passengers had better access to lifeboats, many third-class passengers were delayed by locked gates and confusing passageways. Survival rates reflect this cruel inequality. These stories remind us that Titanic was not just a ship. It was a world of dreams, hopes, and tragedies, all lost in a single night. The sinking of the Titanic was not caused by one thing, but by many. Brittle steel, weak rivets, a fire in her belly, too few lifeboats, ignored warnings, and finally, the iceberg. More than a century later, questions remain. Did the coal fire weaken her fate? Could the Californian have saved hundreds more? Why did Captain Smith maintain such dangerous speed? We may never know every answer, but the Titanic continues to speak to us through the wreck, through the stories of survivors, and through the mysteries still unsolved. This is Forgotten Fronts, where history's greatest tragedies are never forgotten.